Constitution Gardens just outside there. So you begin with the Constitution Gardens as an entrance to the museum. I'm going to go quickly into the museum itself. So there are lots of outdoor sculptures. I'm going to do it fast so that you get a sense of it. That's outdoor sculpture called We the People of India. Then there's another one on Insaf Ki Devi, Triad of Unity, and then there's a sculpture on Echoes of Liberty, Equality Before Law. Then there's a map of India all through scrap metal. Then there's something called the frame, which is the original constitution document. Then you have various forms of Indian art. We are paying tribute to Sorai art, Gond art, Bill art, Tanjore painting, Kalamkari, Pattachitra, Madhubani, Pichwa. These are all part of our effort to celebrate the constitutional values. Then you are essentially, I want to tell you about the three things that I said, which is the ground floor of the museum, the mezzanine floor, which is the Maker's Gallery and the Freedom's Journey. Then the ground floor is the comprehensive floor, where we start with an art form called Portal, which is made by two of J. So there are over 600 people involved in this project. It's a massive effort. That's called the We the People of India. This is art drawn from the preamble of the Constitution of India. Then you have one of the original copies of the Constitution. We actually have one of the original copies of the Constitution. There were some 1,000 copies that were photolithographic copies, and I have one of them. So that's going to be in the museum. Balai Gada has made a pedestal where this original copy will be placed. Then we are paying tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. As you know, Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. He was, of course, there when the Assembly was constituted, but he died before the Constitution was adopted. But we are paying tribute to him, obviously because of the fact that his own contribution was a brooding omnipresence in the members' mind when they were drafting the Constitution. All right, then we look at the three important philosophical foundations of the Constitution: individual freedom, economic and social justice, and equality and inclusivity, which form part of Nehru's Objectives Resolution, later became the preamble of the Constitution. Then you have an amazing ceiling sculpture. It's a double-story height building. So you see the ceiling sculpture, and the reflection there is that we are under the protective umbrella of the Constitution. Then you have a hand-painted mural right there as you move through the ceiling sculpture. Then you have a children's corner where we have interactive installations, animation videos, quizzes and puzzles. The idea of the Constitution I mentioned earlier on is that to make it accessible for people, young people including. So we have all these pamphlets where complex aspects of law are given in simple language. Then we pay tribute to the women of the Constituent Assembly. There were outstanding members, 15 of them, who made significant contributions, and we are paying tribute to all of them, both inside and outside the museum. Then there is a section on decoding the Constitution, then there's a section on quizzes and games, then there's another section on Constitution Demystified, then where you get to understand more provisions of the Constitution. Then there is a section on Constitutional Tidbits, where you get to learn about some of the important facts, interesting facts of the Constitution, then some of the quotations from the Constitution members, Supreme Court judgments, landmark cases, and of course amendments to the Constitution. We also pay tribute to the artworks of the Constitution. In fact, if you see the original Constitution, there were so many interesting artworks in it, and we are paying tribute to all of them as well. Then there's another beautiful sculpture by name Genesis by Alex Davis. Then there's another one called Visceral Parts. Then there's another one called Votus Indica by Megha Joshi. And then another one, Sudipta Das's one sculpture called Ascending Descending, which is reflecting the idea of how Constitution was a collective document, how people from different diversities and pluralities were involved in the making of the Constitution. Then there's another beautiful installation called the Wishing Tree of Justice. Sangam Bankade has done it. Then there's another one called Territorial Sublime by Pinaki Mohanty, and then one on fabric called by Rekha Goyal, which is again reflecting of the diversity. Then you have a very interesting installation called Sibdas Sengupta's installation known as Illusion. The original was in Lincoln's Memorial, Abraham Lincoln. We are juxtaposing Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Ambedkar, how both of them played very important roles in their respective countries in eliminating or resisting discrimination. Then there's a beautiful painting called Story of Independent India, where we are focusing the entire evolution of the last 75 years. And there's another one called unread sentences. I'm going fast because I want to, I'm conscious of your time. Then there is a section on stamps. We've collected stamps of that time. Then there's a museum shop in the ground floor. Then you have a graffiti on the staircase, and you move to the Makers Gallery, which is the mezzanine floor. And then there we have an interactive projection wall. Here you get to see the entire evolution and milestones of the constitution making process. Then we have a wall of busts. I mentioned early on that we are paying tribute to every member of the Constituent Assembly, and that's been never done before. And we've made 300 busts of all members of the Constituent Assembly. Then there's a section on assembly debates, where you can actually stand and listen to the debates, the speeches, the archival content as well. Then there's a section on antecedents and influences, how Indian Constitution was shaped by many other, can you please switch on these lights? How Indian Constitution was shaped by so many other constitutions, and how they influenced the constitution making process. And post 1949, how our constitution inspired other constitutions and other jurisdictions as well. That's the section called antecedents and influences. Then we have a section which is very interesting. We have a hologram of Dr. Ambedkar, where you can actually ask a question to Dr. Ambedkar and he will reply from his original writings. We have taken content from his original writings and he will reply. Are you ready now? Okay.
You see, the Constitution is the fundamental law of a country, which establishes the structure, power, and duties of the government and defines the basic rights of citizens. The Constitution is not, therefore, a mere lawyer's document.
Alright, there's more there. Alright, we go to the first floor, that's called the Freedom's Journey. The first floor, the first thing you can do is you can take a selfie and take a member as a oath as a member of the Constituent Assembly. And look at that picture there, right behind Nehru. You can be that person. You can take a picture. Again, to make the entire experience of the museum interesting and engaging, then there's an archival deep dive content, LED screens. Then you have an entire LED wall where we are tracing the 75 years of the Constitution. Then there's a section called Creative Expressions Inspired by the Constitution, which is including quotes. Then you have a section on literature wall, books, articles, publications, vernacular medium. Then there's a section on fundamental rights. Then there's a place where we pay tribute to our own Chancellor, Mr. Jindal, for the right to fly the national flag case. Then there's a section on experts speak, where we have recorded conversations from various experts, including lawyers and judges and chief justices, about various topics of the Constitution. Then we are paying tribute to several experts, 50 of them who are no longer alive, but they made immense contributions in the last 75 years. Then there's a section on it happens only in India. Then there's animated video clips on interesting cases that have shaped the Constitution. Then there's a section called a very interesting vintage radio, which essentially focuses from 1920 to 2020. You can choose the year and it'll give you major news item related to Constitution. Then there's a section on You Know Right, which is about testing your knowledge of fundamental rights. Then there's an immersive room where we get a 360-degree visual spectacle surrounding the constitutional evolution. Then there is a section called SAMVID, which is Sam Benegal's documentary, which we are showing there. And then we have the timeline, which is the entire evolution of the Constitution, post-Constitution, which is the last 75 years. Buddy, can somebody switch off the light? I've told them 10 times to switch off this light. I don't know why they don't do it. I said switch off all the lights. The 75-year journey, if you see this, each of the important milestones have been covered. And it's very important to look at this because this is tracing all major legislation, constitutional amendments, important judgments by the courts, and other aspects of the last 75 years. Just when you leave, you have a video feedback kiosk where you can give your feedback. And then there's the balcony sculpture just outside. So some of you will be interested in this. For the last 6 months, we are working 24/7. We've been in touch with several important institutions in India and around the world to get archival content. We are also in touch with other institutions for digital databases, again that have been obtained from India and around the world. So it's a massive exercise that is being undertaken as we speak. That's the short video.